This wasn't like the usual tabloid drama. This wasn't a fight between two reality TV stars or a business deal that went awry. This was real, and it broke the hearts of millions of followers who recognized Kandi as more than just a famous person. She was now in their life, on their playlists, on their screens, and even in their dreams. The news hit like a ton of bricks, and no one could have seen it coming. This wasn't just a headline. It was about me, very personal. Kandi has always been transparent. From her days with Escape right through her Grammy-winning career, she had taken her fans in on her trip. Through the highs and lows, we had witnessed her strength. But suddenly, for the first time in a long time, there was silence. No flashy advertising posts, no teasers, no drama. Just a calm, heavy stillness that spoke louder than anything she had ever posted before. The music, the TV appearances, the business moves, none of it seemed meaningful when the news broke. Something had happened that brought her to a place no one had ever seen her travel before. It wasn't like Kandi to hide from the world. She was always the one to discuss her personal struggles with her supporters. Whether it was family drama or treachery, she never kept us in the dark. But this time, she wasn't speaking. It seemed as though the world stopped moving around her. Fans could sense that something was off, and soon whispers started flying. Trusted sources confirmed that this wasn't another trick for the cameras. No, this was something real, something deeply emotional. Kandi's pain was affecting more than just herself. It was affecting her family. And with that, fans everywhere began to gather around her. You could sense the collective heartbreak from across social media, with thousands offering support, expressing messages of hope and strength. And just when it felt like Kandi was ready to withdraw away entirely, a brief note surfaced on her social media. It was simple, measured, but it communicated everything. She thanked her fans for their prayers and support, noting that her family was going through something awful. No details, no drama, just honesty. For someone who had always lived under the spotlight, this transition was jarring. No more updates on new projects, no more hustle, just quiet. The kind of stillness that said volumes. Her fans, who had followed her journey through, remained tight-lipped, respecting her privacy. For those closest to her, it was evident this wasn't a PR stunt, and it wasn't for the cameras. Kandi was confronting something far more personal. This wasn't about a fight or some new reality TV twist. This was about family, about pain, and about the kind of battle that no one could prepare for. Yet, even with all the pain, the love from her admirers never wavered. In fact, it grew stronger. The outpouring of support on social media was astounding. People flooded her feeds with messages of love and encouragement, showing Kandi that they were there for her even when she wasn't ready to speak. But even amidst the silence, there was strength. Kandi wasn't just lying low. She was finding her serenity in the stillness. The option to retreat, to take a step back, wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a powerful move. She was choosing to prioritize what truly mattered, taking the time she needed to heal away from the public glare. In that space, there was no pressure, no deadlines, just a lady battling her personal battle, surrounded by the support of her family and admirers who loved her passionately. But no one knew exactly what was going on, and that mystery, that unknown, held everyone fascinated, waiting for the moment when Kandi would finally share what had broken her heart. The silence surrounding Kandi Burruss only grew louder, and the mystery intensified. It wasn't only the absence of updates on her career or social media posts, it was the complete quiet of a woman who had always been in the public glare. Fans couldn't help but feel something was off. Kandi, the woman who had shared every element of her experience, was now holding back. But what was so personal, so traumatic, that it necessitated this quiet retreat? People started guessing, and each notion seemed more intriguing than the previous. Some even wondered if this was the end of her career, the moment when the indomitable Kandi would finally crack under strain. But that was not the case. Then one day it happened. Kandi finally spoke, and when she did, her message stung harder than anyone could have imagined. In a calm yet extremely emotional post on social media, she thanked her fans for their support, acknowledging that her family was going through something deeply traumatic. No details, no sensationalism, just raw honesty. In those few words, the weight of everything she had been through was felt by millions of people. It wasn't about drama. It wasn't about keeping up appearances. This was about a lady opening up in the most vulnerable way, showing that even someone as powerful as Kandi can face pain that leaves them speechless. What made this moment so powerful was that Kandi wasn't doing it for pity or attention. She wasn't playing into the media hysteria. She was simply being real. And that authenticity spoke volumes. It wasn't the glamorous, fast-paced life we were used to seeing on TV or in interviews. No, here was the real Kandi, stripped of all the sparkle, the performances, the interviews, and it was this moment of quiet vulnerability that resonated most with her fans. There was no dramatic comeback, no hints at new projects, just quiet, the kind of stillness that said volumes. Her fans, who had followed her journey through every success and every setback, understood immediately that this wasn't just about a star losing their shine. No, this was about someone who had always been strong and now found themselves in a vulnerable situation. And in that vulnerability, Kandi showed us all the real meaning of strength. Not the kind of strength that pushes through the pain with a smile, but the kind that allows yourself to experience it entirely, to sit in the silence and to recover on your own terms. This was the kind of moment that made people look at Kandi in a whole new light. She didn't rush back into the spotlight. There was no need to perform for anyone. She was picking her own pace, her own moment to breathe. And in that choice, there was strength. She wasn't folding under the pressure. She was simply prioritizing what mattered most: her family, her peace, and her recovery. Behind closed doors, Kandi wasn't alone. Todd, her husband, had been her rock, standing by her side every step of the way. Despite the ups and downs that had been so public throughout their relationship, When life hit hard, it was clear that their closeness was more than just for the cameras. They were partners in every meaning of the word. Fans who had followed their journey realized how much Todd's constant support meant to Kandi. And it wasn't just Todd. Riley, her eldest daughter, who had grown up under the public eye, had shifted into a quieter, more supportive role. She had witnessed her mother's hardships for years, but suddenly, Riley's maturity was shining through. She had become an emotional anchor for Kandi, someone who could hold space for her mother when things got too heavy. And then there was Mama Joyce. For years, Mama Joyce had been a bigger-than-life figure in the reality TV world, bold, opinionated, and fiercely loyal. But in the face of real pain, she exhibited a side that few had seen before. She became the quiet strength that Kandi needed, not for the cameras or the public's applause, but simply for the love of a mother. This wasn't about old arguments or the drama that had played out on TV. This was about family and the kind of love that runs deeper than anything visible on a screen. While Kandi was in the thick of her personal tempest, the love and support from Atlanta, the city that had watched her grow and thrive, was evident. Local businesses, church groups, and neighbors rallied around her, showcasing the strength of community. It wasn't just about Kandi. It was about the collective spirit of a community that had seen her give so much and now wanted to give back. Signs of support went posted in shop windows, and prayer circles were organized for her. The entire city seemed to be holding its breath, standing with her in her quiet. On social media, fans continued to flood her feeds with messages of hope, throwing back to the old days with Escape, sharing memories of concerts, and even producing poignant TikTok tributes. It was evident that Kandi's influence stretched far beyond her songs and reality TV. She had developed a connection with her audience that was anchored in authenticity. Fans weren't just supporting her because she was a star. They were supporting her because she had always shown them who she really was. And now, when she needed them most, they were there, sharing in her journey, offering their love and empathy. But even in the face of all this support, Kandi wasn't rushing to make a public statement or manipulate the story. She wasn't striving for a perfect comeback. Instead, there were whispers behind the scenes that Kandi was taking this time to think, not only for herself, but for others who might be facing similar struggles. There was suggestion that Kandi might utilize this time to speak out on the very topics she was struggling with: grief, emotional resilience, and mental health. Not for pity, but to raise awareness and help others who might be suffering in silence. It wasn't about pretending everything was perfect. It was about being real. Kandi showed the world that it was okay to be vulnerable, that strength didn't imply never breaking down. It means finding the strength to rise, even when you've been knocked down. And in her silence, in her stillness, Kandi Burruss became more than just a celebrity. She became a symbol of what it is to be human, to feel, to break, to heal, and to rise again. And when Kandi is ready to return to the spotlight, it won't be because the world is demanding it. It will be because she has taken this time to recover, to regroup, and to come back stronger than before. But this time, her return won't be about music, business, or fame. It will be about the power that comes from knowing when to halt, when to show up for yourself, and when to let your pain to become part of your story. The most profound legacy Kandi Burruss will leave behind won't simply be the empire she's built, but the reminder that even in the darkest situations, there's always room for light. And that light is what she's delivering to the world.